Does the Holy Spirit always gently lead? And the answer is absolutely not. I bring this up because when I was a new believer, learning about how the Holy Spirit guides and leads us, my pastor said the Holy Spirit is always gentle, and he described him as a dove. And then, of course, in the Old Testament, it talks about the still small voice. And so he taught us that if the Holy Spirit's going to lead, it's never going to be a compelling force. He's never going to make you do anything. He's just going to gently tug at your heart. Well, that sounded good, except in my experience with God, the Holy Spirit was more compelling, not always gentle. So one of the things you have to realize is the Holy Spirit leads both gently and compelling. See, don't get caught up in thinking he's just like a gentle dove, but the Bible also says he's a rushing mighty wind. You know what I mean? So he will bring a sailboat and like a wind, and he will guide the sailboat in a very compelling way, even sometimes against the desires and will of the captain of the ship. Now, I'm going to prove to you that the Holy Spirit is also a compelling force that guides us. Listen to this passage in Mark 1:12 in the King James, and it says, "And immediately the Spirit driveth him into the wilderness." See, Jesus was led to go in the wilderness, but Mark uses a very powerful word. He driveth him, and make no mistake about it, it's a very compelling guidance. It's a forceful, it's like driving him almost against his will. And that's the language of the Holy Spirit leading. So if you've been taught that the Holy Spirit's always gentle and that he's never a rushing mighty wind, but he's just going to gently tug at you and you won't feel any force, then you're mistaken. The Holy Spirit often will cause you to agonize. In fact, the word led is the Greek word ago, where we get the root for agonize. You see, Jesus agonized in the garden because he didn't want to go to the cross. But he was being led by the Spirit to do this, not against even his own flesh. Listen to another passage that really showed me that the Holy Spirit often compels us to do things. Acts 20, verse 22. "And now, compelled by the Spirit, I'm going to Jerusalem, not knowing what will happen to me." Notice Paul uses the phrase, compelled by the Spirit. That's a compulsion. That means you have to do it. You see, I experienced this when it came to deciding to be a minister. I didn't want to be a preacher. I didn't want to go into full-time ministry. I had my ideas of broadcasting, and that's what I wanted to do. I had my plans to go to college, but that the Holy Spirit was a compelling force and wouldn't let me rest until I yielded to him. And friend, when the Holy Spirit guides you, often you're going to feel restless until you submit to the Holy Spirit's will.